Thank you, Sal. Thank you. Good afternoon, conference. It is such a pleasure to be here. As I said at the rally on Saturday night, this is my first in-person autumn conference since I became a Liberal Democrat MP. Yeah, it's pretty good. I remember being here in Bournemouth all the way back in 2019, which frankly feels like a lifetime ago. And when I think back now, I think of lots of pot noodles. I haven't managed to eat one so far this weekend, and not a lot of sleep. And I suspect, like many of our PPCs here today, I was very excited, but really had no clear idea of what was going to happen next, and indeed when the next general election might be. After all, my professional background wasn't in politics. It was in policing, people management and whisky. But it turns out in your role as Chief Whip, all three of them come in quite handy. Now, if you're one of the people I've had the chance to speak to back then, perhaps it was over a late night drink at the conference bar, I am certain there is one thing you would have heard me say about our prospects in North East Fife. It's the most marginal seat in the UK. Just 2 votes in it. 2 votes separating the Lib Dems from the SNP. Now, I know what you're all thinking. What a bar chart. And I can assure you, because I have the evidence here, that there was a pixel differentiation on that bar chart. But were we complacent? No, we were not. We worked really bloody hard in the rain, in the wind, in the dark. And we were able to turn that 2-vote SNP majority into an orange North East Fife again. So, conference, with that in mind today, I am here to challenge you. What are you going to do in the next year to put more orange onto the map? Because let me tell you, ambition is one thing, but without hard work, without bundling leaflets late at night, doing delivery walks in the cold, pounding the pavements in the pouring rain, without all of that, we are never going to kick this Conservative government out of office. And it isn't just about the Tories. I suspect you all expected me to say that. We have seen scandal and failure in the SNP's Scottish government, as much as in the Conservative one. And the Lib Dems' most marginal seat is in the UK, is in mid-Dumbartonshire. It might not be 2 votes, but 149 is still pretty close. The SNP decline in standards needs to be arrested. So we will get out there and show the SNP that we will do that. So, conference, I urge you, find the nearest place where we're hoping to win a seat, whether it's mid-Dumbartonshire or mid-Bedfordshire. Go and get involved, sign up to do a delivery round, join a marathon, write blue letter envelopes, get on to Connect. Because it's a fantastic opportunity, a pivotal election in which to make a change and to help bring about a real difference for your local community and for the country. Now, hard work is exactly how we won 4 stonking by-election victories in this Parliament. And I mentioned it's my first autumn conference as an MP. Well, it's theirs too. And conference, let me tell you, in less than a month, I'm going to have a 5th new colleague to whip when Emma Holland-Lindsay beats the Conservatives in mid-Bedfordshire. Now, I can't mention the by-elections without talking about one of the key reasons that we were able to persuade lifelong Conservative voters in North Shropshire or in Tiverton or in Somerton that they should support us. And that's the complete erosion of standards under this Conservative government. And conference, Liberal Democrats aren't just content with criticising these scandals when they happen. We're in Parliament trying to put things right. And one of the first big scandals was directly responsible for the North Shropshire by-election, and that was Owen Paterson. He broke the rules, but Conservative MPs trudged through the voting lobbies and let him off the hook. What an outrage! So I wrote to the Speaker, and we secured an emergency debate on standards in Parliament. And thankfully, in the end, Owen Paterson did the right thing and resigned his seat in North Shropshire. And we all know what happened in the by-election that followed. Don't we, Helen? But I wasn't done there. Owen Paterson had voted to let himself off. In fact, any MP who was subject to any sort of standards motion, even for absolutely disgraceful behaviour, could vote in relation to their own sanction. This is so obviously wrong. MPs as both the accused and the jury. So over the course of the year, I worked to build up a cross-party consensus that the rules should be reformed. And when the opportunity came, I tabled an amendment to prevent this from happening in future. And I'm pleased to say, Conference, that we got it passed. We changed the rules. And that's the difference that having Liberal Democrat MPs in Parliament can make. Conservatives voted to ignore the rules. Liberal Democrats made sure they were reformed. Conservatives trashed standards in public life, and Liberal Democrats are trying to put things right. So, Conference, what next? Something seems to me deeply wrong in the way that Conservative MPs have continued to receive handouts for their failure. It's like an incentive for chaos. The rapid turnover of ministers that we have seen means that so many initiatives are just simply not getting done, be it the unbuilt hospitals, the missing renters reforms, or the ban on conversion therapy. And I still find it unbelievable that when a cabinet minister resigns, they are entitled to almost £17,000 in severance payments, with almost no exceptions. If you resign in scandal, still entitled to it. Only been in post for a day, you still get the payout. If you get reappointed at least 3 weeks after you were sacked, you can claim the cash. Now, I suppose it probably never occurred to whoever wrote the rules that it was even possible to make the kind of absolute mess that the Conservatives have created of late. Because, of course, in a year of 3 Prime Ministers, which also saw half the government resign in July 2022, the payouts have gone up and up and up. Conservative MPs have cashed in on the chaos that they have created. And while families struggle to pay their bills and put food on their table, their taxes are going to pay off former ministers and indeed former Prime Ministers such as Liz Truss. Her £18,000 severance payment could have been used to pay for 26,500 lettuces. And of course, that's fewer lettuces than you could have bought last year, thanks to the way that she trashed the economy. Conference, seriously, enough is enough, and that's why I'm unveiling new proposals today to reform the ministerial severance rules. We will ensure that only ministers who have served for a reasonable period of time are given any kind of payout, with a more substantial break clause to prevent those who are reappointed a couple of months after they are sacked from pocketing thousands of pounds of taxpayers' cash. And most importantly, we will ensure that Conservative MPs who resign or are sacked in disgrace because they broke the ministerial code, such as Gavin Williamson or Dominic Raab, are not eligible for a payout at all. And Conference, I do want to touch on Dominic Raab in particular, because there is one image which really encapsulates that Conservative cocktail of arrogance, incompetence and heartlessness during the course of the past 4 years. And it's from the summer of 2021, 2 years ago. And that's the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban. Whilst those Afghans who put their lives on the line to support our troops found themselves targets, and while Afghan women found their hard-won freedoms snatched away overnight, where was Dominic Raab? Conference, he was relaxing on the beach, not a care in the world. Doesn't that sum it up? And Conference, I know I'm not the only one who found those scenes in Afghanistan 2 years ago deeply upsetting. And they moved me to help set up a cross-party group in Parliament advocating for Afghan women and girls, of which I'm proud to say I'm a co-chair. Making sure the voices of Afghan women, both here and in their own country, are heard in the places where decisions about their lives, their very ability to exist, are being made. And it's slow, but it is happening. The truth is that our country made promises to the people of Afghanistan, and those promises have not been kept. And maybe it's the rapid turnover of ministers. Maybe it's the fact that the Conservative government simply hasn't been up to the task. Or maybe it's because they just don't care. But whatever it is, the fact remains. What do we stand for if we don't stand up for the most basic human rights of our fellow human beings? Fairness, equality and the right to a fulfilling life. Without question, the UK government should stand for those things. But far too frequently, this Conservative government either doesn't care or doesn't get it. Now, one group that has been particularly neglected is carers. And in the words of the Carers Trust survey report published recently, unpaid carers are not unsung heroes. We are forgotten, we are neglected, we are burnt out. And I know this from the carers in North East Fife, that they are undervalued, that they do not have adequate support, and that they struggle to balance caring responsibilities and work. So I was determined to change the law and to make life better for them. And so, Conference, earlier this year, I'm proud to say I took the Carers Leave Bill through Parliament, and I'm happy to say it's now the Carers Leave Act. And as a result, more than 2.4 million people across the UK who are currently balancing caring with work will now benefit from a statutory right to take 5 days of unpaid care a year to help them better balance those work and caring responsibilities. And that's a benefit that the millions that follow them will also have. It's the Liberal Democrats who stand up for carers when they are being taken for granted by this Conservative government. Just like we stand up for the Afghans who the government has turned into an afterthought, and how we stand up for standards in public life and for our democratic institutions when Conservatives like Lee Anderson, Suella Braverman and Jacob Rees-Mogg, yeah, more booing, seek to undermine them. Conference, this is the difference when we get Liberal Democrats elected. We do not take voters for granted. We work hard to win our seats. We work hard to represent our local communities, and we work hard day in and day out, making a difference in this country. I am so proud of what I've been able to achieve since I was elected, but it is all thanks to you. It's thanks to every single member who came door knocking or delivering or phoning for me in the depths of winter 2019. Just think how much more we can achieve when we elect a whole host of new Liberal Democrat MPs at the next election. Each seat we take from the SNP means one less MP who will vote to break up the UK and one more who will stand up for it and make the changes that the UK needs to prosper. And each seat we take off the Conservatives means one less MP who will vote to break the rules and one more who will stand up for them. One less who will vote to break our promises to the most vulnerable, and one more who believes that making the most for our vulnerable people and making them better off is fundamental. One less who will be there under a Conservative manifesto, and one more who will advocate for the policies that we've been debating here in the last few days. So, Conference, let's get out there. This year is going to mean a lot more bloody hard work. But if we work hard, think of what we will achieve. Thank you.